the left lady.
Yeah. Allis, advisory, the vice president of the
I got a call card first. Don't jump the gun. Good evening, everybody. We'll call the February 26th Plan Commission to order. We will take a roll call.
Wayne Clark.
Yes.
John Keckheisen.
Yes.
Eric Torkelson.
Present.
Kathleen Dagenhart. David Rashka.
Here.
Brian Frank.
Here.
Dan Devine.
Here. We have a quorum. Item C is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. A motion, and there is a second. Are there any changes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Then we will move on to item 2. We have the minutes on there twice. Or are there
Oh, we
2
do?
months worth of
Yeah.
minutes? We'll move on to item 2.
Oh, one's just the attachment.
Yeah, okay. Has been done. Kate.
So this is the Aspen Dental proposed in the office mix, a portion of the office mix site that came before Plan Commission last month. Just as a to revisit what this project is, it's a new construction of a dental facility. It is a permitted use. The building footprint is proposed to be about 3,500 square feet, with construction start proposed in spring and completed in August of 2020. Aspen Dental is a general dentistry. Their proposed hours of operation are Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll have about 7 to 8 employees with approximately 25 patients a day. So this is the site proposal that was submitted before last month. That Plan Commission asked us to go back and work with the applicant to maybe try and come up with a different option. And so some of the concerns that staff had about this particular site plan and architectural plans was the building location, some inconsistencies that it has with the plans for the future of this corridor, the landscaping, some of the existing non-conforming signage on site, the fact that there's a lot of parking on this site, some of the building materials, particularly ethos, and that there was only 3-sided architecture proposed in the plans. So looking at the building location, it is a pretty prominent corner in the city that's very well traveled. And this plan basically proposes to have a parking lot on either side of that corner. Whereas our code and our design guidelines call for moving it to the front of the site. And really a lot of this site plan was dictated on the fact that there is an existing non-conforming sign in that corner up there in the northwest corner. And so, the building couldn't be placed at the corner specifically because of that sign. And then, we did just complete a Highway 100 corridor plan that we expect to be adopted by council next month. And that plan really calls for creating a sense of place on Highway 100 and, making it into something that couldn't just be, anywhere USA kind of a place. And part of that is about bringing buildings up to the street front as well. So I've attached some of the images that came out of that plan just for your review. As you can see, all of these buildings are brought up to the street front. They have a lot of landscaping, feel very pedestrian friendly, and really serve the recommendations that are outlined in this plan about creating walkable destinations, creating a distinct identity and brand for the space, and really just promoting more desirable development patterns. So on the plan that was submitted, the site landscape improvements that they're proposing are for the area where the Aspen Dental is to be located, as well as some on the northeast corner. But there are no landscape improvements proposed for the Office Max parking area. And when we do site landscape reviews, we do them for the entire site, not just the portion where improvement is being made. And through the entire site, there should be 10% minimum of landscaping. And that also includes 10% in interior parking areas, which this clearly does not provide. And we did discuss having more of a phased approach, and the applicant indicated that would be due to their existing agreements with Office Max, difficult to do, very costly to do, until their lease is up, which could be as long as 10 years from now. Additionally, as mentioned, there is an existing non-conforming pylon sign on this site, and the applicant has also requested that this sign be allowed to stay until the end of the Office Max lease. Typically, when we approve new updated plans, we approve them so that the entire site is brought into conformance with the code, and a date of removal of non-conforming items is usually identified, typically 2 years from the plan approval. As mentioned earlier, they are proposing to use a decent amount of EFS on this building, and that is also something that has typically not been approved by Planning Commission. And just to give some, really nearby examples of that, the Marshalls, their original proposal had EFS in it. Planning Commission did not approve it, and they came back with alternate building materials. Similarly, where you see the stone veneer on the BMO, that was originally proposed to be EFS. Planning Commission did not approve it, and they came back with this proposal. Because this building is visible from all four sides, we do also want to see a more advanced rear elevation, so that there's some windows, screening of that rooftop unit, potentially even awnings, just so that it does not appear to be the rear of a building. So as I mentioned, they do have some existing constraints as part of some agreements that they have with both Office Max and the Blaze Pizza. One being the non-conforming pylon sign, also the parking issue. They have to accommodate 53-foot trailer deliveries from Office Max. That doesn't seem to be too big an issue on this site plan. There is enough space to do that. but it does limit, where some landscape beds could go and that type of thing. And additionally, they have a parking arrangement with Blaze Pizza for 40 parking stalls in this area of the site. However, our code only actually requires 12 stalls. So were this agreement not in place, we would certainly be working to minimize parking and increase landscaping. So after Plan Commission, we did, work with the applicant, and staff suggested several different versions of plans that maybe could bring us to something that looks, more like these images, where the building is closer to the street front, where there's landscaping along the street edge. In various forms, some of the conditions or some of the constraints that they have due to their existing agreements were not being met with some of the proposals that we suggested, but we finally were able to come up with a design that allowed them to maintain all of those agreements: the parking spaces, the sign, the trailers, the circular access. And so, as you can see, even on this revised design, it is not what I think staff would consider a perfect site plan, but it does get the building up to the street. It does add a lot more landscaping along both of the street fronts, and still provides the applicant with those challenges, allows them to overcome the existing challenges that they have with their lease agreements. However, after they had their engineer build up this plan, because of the building being moved to a different location on site, it does have impacts on stormwater management issues that was going to increase some of their costs, some of their utility costs. And they estimated about $120,000 worth of additional costs based on this site plan. Staff would argue that their landscaping costs in particular should have been more expensive based on meeting the city's standard for landscaping. And when we talked to our engineering department, some of their estimates about what the utility costs would be were much lower than what was provided to us by the applicant. So we would want to get some more details on exactly how those numbers came to be. And then additionally, they sent this plan out to their tenant, to Aspen Dental, to get their feedback. And Aspen Dental also had some concerns, related to what the rear of the building looked like, which we also have concerns about in either plan. They had issues about the sign, the existing non-conforming sign blocking where their potential signage could be, which, if that pylon sign came down, then that would not be an issue anymore. And they did also raise some concerns about circulation in the parking lot, but this plan actually provides more parking directly along the building, and reduces the amount of time that most of the clients would have to be walking through a parking lot. So unfortunately, staff and the applicant were not able to come to any sort of compromise on a plan. So the applicant has requested that Plan Commission approve their plan as submitted, which staff obviously does not recommend. There are other options. Plan Commission could deny the request, could approve the request as submitted with with additional conditions of approval. Could approve the revised design, though I'm not sure that the applicant would move forward with that plan anyway. Or hold the item if the applicant would like to continue working, but it's unclear if that's the case at this time. There is a representative from, on behalf of the applicant, who I believe would like to add some additional comments.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know if you have questions first or.
Are there any questions from the commission first? No? Okay.
Great, thanks. Kurt Smith, Boulder Venture, 311 Chicago Street, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Katie, could you back the presentation up to the beginning, please?
To which one?
Just to the beginning.
Sure.
So, really, this is just a difference of opinion in terms of design and what works for, the development and the tenant versus what the city would like to see. Obviously, as a plan commission, you guys have the opportunity to ask questions, comment, and ultimately to determine what path we head down. So, as you can tell, it's a tight site on the corner. We purchased this property back in 2017. Started working with Office Max on really kind of a greater redevelopment of the parcel. Office Max proved to be a challenging tenant in terms of that idea. So we moved to simply developing the corner with a retailer. There are some constraints to the site, as Katie pointed out. The first is the Office Max pylon sign, which they are 100% committed to protecting. So if the city or the Plan Commission demand that that sign come down in order for the Aspen Dental to be built, we won't be able to proceed. The second is that we committed to Blaze Pizza having 40 parking spaces on that corner for their restaurant business. That's a lease obligation we have. Obviously, we understand that city code might take precedent over that, but we clearly can't breach our lease with Blaze Pizza. So if that too, if the 40 parking spaces are an issue, we won't be able to proceed with the Aspen Dental project. As you can tell, it's a parking field. It's been that way for many decades, and it wasn't going to change anytime soon with the previous ownership. We bought this property with the idea of a phased development, doing it in sections. We started by converting the F&F tire to Blaze Pizza, and obviously we're working on the Aspen Dental project. Can you flip to the next slide, please? Next one, please. So this design was our 7th iteration. In terms of trying to hit the restraints, the restraints being the pylon sign, the truck turns coming into the Office Max, and the 40 parking spaces. Some of the staff concerns, specifically looking at the poor building location and the inconsistent with Highway 100 corridor plan. I reviewed the corridor plan, and in reading it, it basically states on page 42, since the south area is functioning relatively well, and this is in the south area, for its intended purpose, a convenience-oriented retail destination, improvements can be more subtle, such as focusing on improving the appearance of storefronts and diversifying tenant mix. Improvements to the north area, on the other hand, will require a more deliberate strategy. Here, the current momentum, vacancies, and underutilization, so on and so forth. In the plan, it makes no mention of a strong urban edge or any kind of urban design in the south zone. Frankly, this intersection, Highway 100 and National, Highway 100 and Cleveland, is one of the heaviest trafficked intersections in the Milwaukee area. So while we want to create placemaking throughout the corridor, it's going to be challenging to create that here with the level of traffic that occurs. Another comment that came through was that we are creating a parking lot on a prominent street corner. The site is currently a parking lot, and I would say that we're making a considerable improvement over it's truly a parking right at this point. People park their cars, they hop on the bus, they go to work, their cars sit there for the day, and then they come back and they get back in their car. So I'm not sure, why it's a poor design or outdated, as was stated. This is a design that's been around for decades, and it will continue on for decades. The lack of proper landscaping note. In terms of the disturbance area that we're working within, we have a landscape ratio of 10.09% on the overall site. We do not hit the interior landscaping, so I will confess that we don't have enough green space on the interior, but in terms of the overall site, we have the 10% landscape region. In terms of landscaping the Office Max site, that gets challenging. In order to release this site with Office Max, we're paying them. It's not coming for free. It's a significant amount of money. And in terms of landscaping the additional, the parking lot in front of their site, that too would require a negotiation. That would be additional cost to us. We would need to install it. Office Max would not. Additionally, we would need to maintain it. And I'm assuming they would force us to plow for it because their plowing patterns, landscape patterns would change. In terms of the non-conforming signage, we talked about that. That's just a no-go for us. We can't do it. Over Parked, we talked about our obligation to Bly's Pizza. The EIFS, we'll change the EIFS material. Hardy panel is something that is used throughout West Allis. That's fine. Eliminating EIFS is fine. Three-sided architecture. The reality is the rear of the building is going to be the rear of the building. That space is used for, let's see. Back of house operations such as administrative work, storage, break room, changing room, and other, they hang their coats up, they put their boots down, things of that nature. So, that rear of the building, we could put some spandrel glass, we could dress it up, but to put in clear glass or have it appear as though the rest of the building, it's probably not the best use of the wall. People don't want to look at employees in the break room or doing paperwork. Screening the rooftop system, yeah, that's fine. That's an easy thing that we can certainly do that will give a four-sided look. Can you go back to the plan that shows the street edge, the urban edge design, please? Be forward, yeah. Great, thank you. So, a few things to observe about this.
It is a hot screen, so.
Okay, I'll use my paper.
Okay.
So this is where the existing monument sign is. It will clearly interfere with, visibility of the building and signage. This will be the rear of the building. Aspen Dental has a prototypical floor plan around the country. This will be the front door. So you'll have customers coming in here, and at one of the more prominent corners in the city, we will have the rear of a building. As much as we dress it up, it isn't going to change much. It adds about $120,000 of cost to our project. That's a significant amount of money. We have a negotiated lease document with Aspen Dental, so that comes to our bottom line. And frankly, it's a lot of money. Aspen Dental is not in favor of this plan. In their opinion, this plan provides better circulation for their customers. It gives them more visibility to Highway 100 versus Cleveland Avenue. It accomplishes obviously all of the goals that we have to hit in terms of completing the project. One other observation to make is, one of the points of the Highway 100 corridor study is that the city should be putting together multi-use paths kind of throughout the community. Putting the building right up on the urban edge certainly eliminates that possibility on Cleveland Avenue because you'll be right next to the sidewalk. So the idea of expanding that sidewalk to being 12 feet, you now eliminate the idea of a multi-use path on Cleveland. Another thing worth mentioning is that this is a driveway where automobiles can go straight across to Target, or they can take a left-hand turn onto Cleveland. this building being right up on the street creates another visibility issue at this corner. As mentioned, this is one of the busiest corners in Metro Milwaukee. Imagine December 17th, it's 5:15 and snowing, and you have somebody who's got a bunch of hot pizza in their car, or they just got their wisdom teeth pulled, and they're trying to take a left-hand turn out of here. Somebody coming around this right-hand corner or through the intersection could be coming pretty quickly, or they could be going across the street to Target. It could cause a traffic issue and a safety concern exiting out there. So those are our observations regarding the plan. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and ultimately look forward to you guys making a decision on what you believe the city should accept.
Thank you.
Any questions? Wayne?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just read briefly from the staff report. The staff believes it is the responsibility of the developer to balance the needs of their contractual agreements with the needs of the city and to do their due diligence to meet city standards and establish a quality project. Staff does not believe this balance is being met. Steve, is that continue to be the department's position?
Yeah, as Katie alluded to, correct.
Katie,
yes.
is that correct? Then I would move to deny.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 3A and 3B.
Okay, the next item is a special use permit for a proposed event space at 1139 South 70th Street. This is going to be a special event venue with a seating capacity of about 300 people. This is part of the overall Allis Yards development project, and this is zone C3, so banquet facilities require a special use permit, which there'll be a public hearing for on March 3rd. It's the little one in the middle. So the architectural plans for this project, looking at the interior, they will be creating a banquet area, a space for caterers to come in, renovated restrooms, a bride's room and a groom's room for people to get ready, a grand staircase, and a open loft area. Looking at the exterior, they are proposing to, so the top one is the existing and the bottom is proposed. You can see they're relocating the entryway to be in the center of the building, and where the current entry is will be a new window system to match the existing windows, and also adding a second-story balcony to this building. So just looking at what the materials are here, they're proposing a corrugated metal roof panel with steel joists and steel beams and a steel channel wrapping around the, in between the two areas. There will be a steel decorative rail with a hardwood top, steel columns with partially exposed concrete base, and again, aluminum storefront windows and entryways that match existing. The applicant did provide us with some renderings that I received today, so these are hot off the press for you. And this is what the proposed balcony area would look like on 70th Street. They provided a few more perspectives. This is standing in front of the 1205 building, facing the other direction, and then finally from the view from if you're standing underneath. Staff is working with the applicant to come up with a larger streetscape design for both sides of 70th Street, just to get the lighting, the decorative pavers, planters, benches, trash receptacles, and all that sort of stuff to be consistent on both sides of the street for the future project, the hotel area, and then for this side of 70th Street as well. And Cobalt is planning to vacate a portion of the right-of-way, so the portion where up to where the balcony would be, so that, it just makes it easier and more clean, because they will be having a portion of the balcony coming into the sidewalk area. And the plan is to extend that down 70th Street, because if you look at right now they have a lot of this is within, is in the public right of way, and so they have agreements with the city to use that space. And rather than continuing to have all these separate agreements for various parts, it was suggested by our engineering department that they just vacate this entire portion of the right of way and make it, theirs to do that sort of work on. Looking at parking, there is a previously adopted parking plan for these combined buildings, and there's a total of 393 parking stalls, which is less than what the code technically requires, but it is how it has been for a significant amount of time and has not been an issue. And then with the addition of the event space, their peak hours will be different than the peak hours of the office building. So we don't see this as being an additional problem to the parking. And they are planning to apply for loading zone permits to be able to people can get out of their cars here in front of the event space. So staff does recommend approval, subject to the applicant submitting their application to vacate that portion of the right-of-way, and Common Council's approval of the special use on March 3rd.
Wayne?
Mr. Mayor, my sense that this is a great project. I worked in that building many decades ago, and what a transformation it would represent. My question isn't about this space as much as just trying to get some insights from you folks in planning. How does this fit with what the developer is doing south of National with another event space? And how is that progressing? Does this knock that out?
Well, no, I don't think so. This is a different scale of development. This is about, Katie mentioned about maybe 10,000 feet of space, event space, whereas if the other location that you'd mentioned, Wayne, goes forward, that's a much larger building, totally different product than, what we have here. I don't know if that answered your question.
Smaller, you're saying?
This is smaller than what would be on 68th and National, correct, right?
Well, it sure looks good, and if both developers can make them go, that would be a real boon for the city, I would think.
Yeah.
I'd like to move approval.
Second.
There's a motion with a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Item carries.
Oh, yeah, I gotta load up my presentation here. Bear with me 1
All
second.
right.
Katie or Tony will tell some jokes while
We will very slowly move
Loading up
towards
here.
item 4.
Yeah,
What are we doing?
Steve's uploading a presentation.
yeah.
I do have to excuse myself.
All right, thanks, Katie. Thanks, Katie. Okay, get to the right page on that.
Item 4.
Thank you. Yeah, Chris Hansen is here this evening. Their team is here representing the project for Phase 1 construction at 90th, basically 92nd and Lapham Street. The actual address, the main original building within the area is 9015 West Maple Street. And their headquarters, the U.S. headquarters are West Allis, Wisconsin. Their global headquarters are located out of Denmark, and they're a leader in the food and beverage industry in terms of food production, bioscience company, and quite a bit of what we consume in the world has been improved through Christian Hansen Company. So roughly about 1 billion persons per day consume a product that's at least been influenced. This is just a picture of, they are a very sustainable company as well. They pride themselves on their operations and improving health, use of natural food colorings, and so on. And they were recognized just in the screenshot here on the right in Times Square, New York, for their sustainable practices. The operations, they operate 3 shifts daily, around the clock, and they employ roughly about 280 or so people. The Phase 1 addition, which we're going to get into in a little bit here, is going to employ additional 25 to 30 persons. And currently there's about 7 to 10 trucks per day that are coming to this facility or leaving. If you recall from previous Plan Commission meetings, there has been some acquisition of land in the area in recent past, with roughly about 11 properties here at 89th and Mitchell Street, and then also at 91st and Lapham. The Knights of Columbus property was also acquired by Christian Hansen as part of this larger development plan for expanding their U.S. headquarters in West Allis. The overall property is all zone manufacturing. All of what they possess is zone manufacturing, and it supports their future plans. The lot has since been consolidated, so basically those properties over here, these apartment buildings were demolished. The apartments here were demolished or razed, and Knights of Columbus has since been razed. All of that has been consolidated into one lot of record via certified survey map earlier this year. And again, they're proposing to build about just over 19,000 square foot production building on the west side of their existing plant, the west side of that freezer building right here. And it would be more or less a 2-story building, about 47 feet in height. There is some varied roof line, the upper portion being 47 feet, and then there's a lower tier that's about 34 feet in height. Their construction schedule is indicated on the screen, but substantial completion ending in about June of '21. This is a basic site plan showing the location of the future addition, 19,200 feet. And then one of the more notable changes, if we look back here, truck access right now is all coming in off of Lapham Street and then going to loading docks on the north side of the building. What's going to change with the Phase 1 is that, while 91st Street will remain open to the public, the trucks will be, this area here will be curbed off. This portion of vacated right-of-way will be removed and replaced with landscaping. So all the trucks in the future, with this Phase 1 project, will be coming in off of 92nd Street to the new addition and unloading on the north side of the new addition. Employees, on the other hand, will also be coming in off of 92nd Street as well. There will still be maintaining access on Mitchell Street and here off of Maple Street, but the majority of all traffic is going to be shifted from 91st Street here to 92nd Street. And these are just some quick little renderings of the Phase 1 addition. This is looking south. If you were standing on Mitchell Street right here, looking south, this is the existing plant here, and this is a proposed addition. And just a larger view of the same. Phase 2 addition is coming back to us at some future point. That's not up for discussion tonight, just a little note. In terms of, again, site access changes taking place, they have currently about 159 existing parking stalls on the site. They're going to be adding another 140 off-street parking spaces for almost 300 parking stalls. This, again, is the site plan with the landscaping improvements that are proposed. You can see here's the truck entrance, trucks coming in and, maneuvering, backing up to the 2 new loading docks on the north side. Majority of employees, visitors, and would be coming in this other entrance. There has been a traffic study analysis done And basically, the traffic study does warrant these two new driveways. There was initially some concern with sightline distances as you're coming over the crown of the bridge, over the railroad tracks, with sightline distances with trucks and employees coming and going. But they are warranted given the distance. There is still enough adequate sightline distance for, braking, slowing down. This posted speed limit on 92nd Street is actually 25 miles per hour. Now, while not everybody goes that speed limit, there is still, it was defined in the report that there still is appropriate sightline distance. There is some conditions of approval within your staff report. The study had recommended some additional signage, wayfinding signage on the site. Again, just sort of identifying this area here for trucks, for employees. The proposed layout here too is going to be allowing some trucks to actually pull into this before, and then there's going to be a gate around this, like they have now, there's a gate around the whole campus. There's going to be a gated entry point here and here, just for security purposes, given the industry they're in. And the new gates will allow for staging, so you can pull in off the street, minimizing the risk of backups on 92nd Street for those larger truck maneuvers especially. The number of trucks per day is still, 7 to 10. That's not changing. But you can see again the main access change here is that gated entryway here that you come into the site now is going to be landscaped and fenced off more permanently. Curb is going to be installed along portions of Mitchell Street as well as the vacated portion of Mitchell Street over here. New landscaping will be installed as well as along the frontage of the street frontages. Staff is, in the staff report, we are recommending some additional detail in terms of the landscaping plan at the two sites, or two areas flanking each side of 91st Street. They're under the ownership of Christian Hansen, and I guess we'd just like to see a little bit more attention to some landscaping, trees, and in those areas. Just a closer view of the landscaping plan. This is the area of focus is right here along 92nd. So here's 92nd Street. This is the trucking entrance here. You can see there's going to be an ornamental style fence to match the other existing fence on the site. That'll wrap the perimeter of the property. It'll be gated here, automatic gates opening, letting trucks in, and then passenger vehicles in this location. 140 new parking stalls, off-street parking stalls in this area. There is internal landscaping wrapping the perimeters of the parking lots as well as the frontage of 92nd Street. There's again sort of a significant grade difference too here in this area. So as you're coming over, heading southbound or northbound on 92nd Street, if you're going south, you're going downhill. If you're going south, you're going uphill. If you're going north, you're going downhill. But this parking lot will be somewhat below sidewalk grade here, but there will be some trees to add some canopy, improve the vista along 92nd Street. This is the internal floor plan, and what it's showing, just describe, but some additional new office areas, loading dock areas. There are 2 new loading dock doors on the north side of this new addition. These are storage racks in the center portion here, and then you have some additional production functions around the outside for freezers, dust collectors, tank rooms, and fermentation taking place within these areas. So this is the existing plant over here, and there will be, obviously the connection with that facility. Architecturally, the details, this is the west elevation, what you would see from 92nd Street. It's going to be precast tip-up panels with a inset green stripe for, just to sort of tie in with the existing plant. New windows being installed on that west elevation. You can see the variance in the height, 47 feet being the upper portion, where some of those internal tanks will be within the building, and then the warehouse area off to the left. This is the south elevation. Some additional windows, similar materials wrapping around all 4 sides of the new addition. This is the north elevation, the 2 new trucking doors here. this is that step up. So this is the part that's most immediately close to you as you're looking. If you're standing at Mitchell Street or somewhere north of this building, this is closest to you, and then this portion of the building up here is that step up, a little further back, set back. That's why it's a little bit different color. So we are recommending approval, subject to the conditions in the staff report, which are shown here. I don't know if there's any questions at this point, or if there's any further clarification needed. We've got the members of the Hanson team here representing the project, and they'd be happy to entertain any questions as well.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Questions? Wayne?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. How does the height of this building compare to the building in New Berlin, the one just west of Moreland?
I'm not aware of specifically, but perhaps,
It's more or less the same height.
yeah.
Same height?
So the low part of this new building addition is within a few feet the same height as the one in the building.
In terms of the traffic study you referenced, was there consideration relative to the impact that additional trucks and cars would have on the residents in that area?
Yeah, and I think one of the major takeaways is that, with more traffic being directed, the busier functions of people coming and going, it's going to be directed towards a busier street rather than a residential side street of 91st Street. So I think that's a better scenario in the long run, just to take the busier traffic off the side street and put it on a more large arterial. Yeah.
92nd Street is a major thoroughfare north
Yeah.
and south for us.
Right.
Even though we're talking tonight about phase 1, phase 2 is down the pike, and
Yeah.
I would suspect that could certainly come to fruition. That would bring additional traffic. Can you anticipate at all what that might mean?
So
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
traffic study actually took into consideration the future phase as well. So trucks anticipated in that study is actually including the future, as well as cars. So it was projected. So it is considered in the study.
Good point, Thomas. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the same actually with the parking, the amount of parking stalls. It was really to capture the future, so it's built built big enough to capture the needs going forward.
Thank you. I'd move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Item carries. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Okay.
Bye. We will now go on to item 5, A and B. Terry's Krispies.
I have to switch.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, here, you got it.
All right, Carrie's Krispies. So this is a proposed food production company in the former Dave's Pickles building. We have Carrie and Brian of Carrie's Krispies here with us tonight. So their business makes and sells gourmet Rice Krispie treats. They will be renovating and occupying a certified kitchen with a retail space in the front of the part of their business model involves renting out their certified kitchen to other low complexity food companies. Their hours will be Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 7. So here's a look at their branding, all their different tasty Rice Krispie treats. As far as zoning goes, it's the property is zoned C2, and which limited food production businesses are special use for C2, and their public hearing is March 3rd.
Mr. Mayor, this is an exciting small business. I'd like to move approval.
Second.
We have the owners in the back too, if you guys want to say hi. They're in the back.
I'm sure they brought samples. Just kidding. We have a motion, we have a second. I know, I just want to speak quickly. I know Brian and Carrie have participated in a lot of events at our farmers market, and I've bought a lot of their products at our farmers markets and at Stein and Dine, and I'm very happy to see them looking to join our community. So if there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Welcome.
Thank you. Move on to item 6, A and B.
Actually,
Oh, yeah, we got, I gotta go back to, yeah, let's see.
The other one?
We're all done. Sorry about this, guys. Yeah, it was my fault that we got 2 separate presentations going here, so I apologize for that. But I think Nathan Ramirez is here tonight. Remnants regarding the Dunn's Sporting Goods. So the first 6A and B, we can take these together if you wish. But the first item, 6A, is the consolidation of 2 properties via certified survey map, or CSM, at 6026 and 6034 West National. So right now, there's 2 separate lots here, and the owner of the property, Steve Dunn, he owns both of these properties now and would like to construct a building addition, which is going to offer some additional commercial printing space for his screen printing business in addition to the sporting goods store at this location. And that would, without the consolidation of lots, he couldn't build the addition. You can't have the building addition going across the property line. So that's the purpose for the certified survey map, to consolidate the 2 lots into one. And the second item,
Shall we just take that as the first item?
if you wish, sure.
I move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Okay.
6B.
6B is the site landscaping architectural plans. The goal is to construct the addition. As you see in the street view here is the existing lot and building, and then the lower picture is the proposed elevation. The lot, I should mention that parking for the, well, there really isn't much street, parking here. There is a garage, attached garage. Otherwise, the property and the business relies upon street parking. They do also have an agreement with Wells Fargo Bank to utilize, I believe it's like 10 or 12 parking stalls over here. So it does suit the business. With the proposed addition, we don't anticipate any additional problem with the current arrangements. It does increase, the parking requirement does increase, of course, with the building addition, but I guess the purpose of the addition is primarily office space for existing employees, as well as some additional production area for the screen printing process. So we don't see that as a major detriment to, as creating an intensification of parking in the area. This is a quick site plan and floor plan of the existing building, a new addition. It meets the C3 zoning setback requirements. It's actually 0 setback for the front yard and 0 on sides, and then the rear is a 10-foot setback because there's a residential use to the north. A couple of things that we're recommending in the staff report, you'll see in the conditions, are some additional, at least identification of what this area is going to be here. I think the intent was for some green space or landscaping up front. It's not a very large area, but it could soften the edge a little bit. And then the backside, continuation of a fence, just to screen this rear exit door from the building back here. Of course, there'd probably need to be perhaps some kind of gate or something for exiting in an emergency, but we're just thinking that perhaps there should be some continuation of a fence or screening back here just as part of this addition. Architecturally, the new addition will resemble, in terms of the exterior materials, a stone veneer, a canvas awning, and some storefront windows. closer view of that same, this is a larger view, including the existing building on the left and the new addition on the right. Just a closer view of the addition, and you can see some of the details with, the soldier coursing on the upper roof line with metal coping and the canvas awning over the storefront doors and windows. And then clear anodized, windows or storefront window frames with clear glass on the front of the building. There will be also masonry sills underneath the new windows. The rear, which faces north, is simply a door and additional continuation of materials around the back side. So we're recommending approval. We just wanted some confirmation on the landscaping, both front and behind the building, and then also confirming refuse locations. They do have a refuse container currently on that north end of the site near the garage. Just want to make sure it's large enough to accommodate any new areas being added to the building, any new processes and so on. And then continuation of a wood fence or some screening on that north property line. If there's any exterior lighting, we'd like to see a lighting plan as well. So aside from that, the typical cost estimate and surety bond for any site improvements. So Nathan's here to, Nate, if there's anything you want to clarify or?
I think you hit it on the head.
Okay.
We're looking at Steve Dunn, the owner. He's excited to stay where he is. So he's excited to put this addition on and work with the staff to meet the requirements of what you need for. We can agree to the landscaping on the fence, not a problem. He's excited to put the addition on, stay in West Allis, and keep expanding his business.
Any questions from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks. Go to item 7.
Oh, is that you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Item 7, we're just, the applicant's withdrawn their application.
It's not a very impressive presentation.
For this point, I had something much better, and yeah, I don't know, it's all right. No, the progress on the school district, or the West Allis Community Center is moving along very well, and they had initially thought perhaps some subtle tweaks to the exterior of the building, but they're not ready yet, so
Okay,
yeah, move on.
we'll move on to item 8.
Okay.
So this is for the signage plan appeal for the Holiday Inn Express. We have a representative from Allis Partners, who's the developer for this project. They are requesting a variance because our sign code only allows for 2 signs, but they want to have 4 wall signs around each of the 4 sides of the hotel. So just to give you a little bit of background, this is the existing Ware building, which is right here. It's getting demolished soon. They're doing asbestos abatement right now, I believe. And this is a progress photo of the hotel. They hope to be open by the time the DNC rolls around. So with the 2 wall signs, they have a maximum allowed square footage of 512 square feet. Even with their 4 wall signs, they come out to underneath that, so 506 square feet. These are the proposed locations for those signs. Each of these signs are visible from the road and the highway, so we don't see an issue with allowing the 4 signs. Staff recommends approval of this variance.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is the sign on the north actually visible? Because, I mean, driving by on the freeway, I don't know that you can even see the building, and it's at a point where it's at its highest, I mean, it's built up as high as it's gonna get, right?
Right.
Do you know, are you able to see the sign from the north? Is that even?
The sign number 1 on the north elevation.
No, I'm sorry, sign number
South.
3, which faces the freeway, correct?
East elevation.
East, I'm sorry.
East one?
Yeah, the east elevation will certainly be visible from the
Okay.
freeway, and the south elevation is absolutely visible as you come northbound on the freeway.
What about 4?
4 on the west elevation,
Yeah.
that's the one not visible from the freeway.
Highway 100.
That would be 102nd Street. And obviously, number 1 is over the front door,
Yeah.
that fronts Lincoln.
That makes sense. I take the stretch from, I get on Greenfield and get off on National, and I don't, honestly don't remember seeing the building. I know you clearly see it
You
coming
don't
out
see it
down
right
Lincoln.
now because
you
of the
see
Ware
it.
building. The Ware building's
that
taller
comes
than
down.
the-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Did we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Item carries. Move on to item 9.
Thanks, John. Thank you, Mayor. Anybody here from Apostles? No? Okay. Well,
Mr. Mayor?
yep.
If I may.
Yep.
Steve, at the last meeting, we had a robust discussion about this
Sure.
item. And the end result was, there was an agreement that the applicant and people from your department would meet,
Yeah.
come together and see if you could iron out a solution. And apparently, from what I've read in the staff report, you've ironed out the solution. I'd move approval.
Yep. Yeah, the only thing we're asking for is, or what Apostles is actually asking for with this, is we feel that the signage is greatly improved and they're actually using some additional area of the sign down here to meet the additional sign face area, which brings this into the 35% compliance. The additional cap feature meets the ordinance, a color consistency with that of the building meets the ordinance. The one thing that we feel, Apostles feels they would like to request a variance is that they would opt not to put a brick or stone or masonry base underneath this. They feel that the existing retaining wall that surrounds that corner provides the base. So they're asking Plan Commission, do you agree with us? Do you want us to do the base? They would prefer not because it increases the cost of the project, and they feel that the existing corner land and stone is adequate with the combination of landscaping to beautify the corner there and
I'll second
make
it.
it right. So
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. And you're okay with that?
we're willing to accept that as we recommend approval. Yeah.
Okay. There's a motion, there's a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Thank you.
Item 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 10 is Bob Kraus of Bauer Sign Company is here representing the ownership of this property. I'm sorry, Bob is a sign contractor, but he's representing the owner here. He's not here at the meeting tonight. You've probably all seen the former Shell station, now BP, and what's being asked for is to remove the pole sign in the corner and install a monument sign at the corner of 76th and Lincoln. It's very similar, a larger landscaping bed approximately than what was previously granted at 60th and National last year by Plan Commission. But basically, what they're proposing to do is remove that pole sign that's currently there today. You can see it in the aerial view here, which is positioned sort of on a 45-degree like this. They take that down and then install the sign sort of on the back, towards the back edge of the existing landscaping island that's at that corner. What that does, and it meets with the approval of our city engineering department, what it does is allow for better visibility for a car that's perhaps stopped here, or maybe not stopping, but even a rolling around the corner here. You can see pedestrians, you can see other vehicles exiting as returning. So it doesn't limit sight as if it were unless if it were positioned in a different manner, like the current sign, it would be more of an obstruction. So the city engineer has recommended that with these types of applications that the sign be placed in this type of configuration. And while it is within that 20 by 20 area, we are recommending approval, subject to the condition in the staff report, which is additional infill landscaping around the lower portion of the new sign. The sign, by the way, I don't have a picture of it in this presentation. Well, I do, I think, but it's, so here's the configuration of landscaping that would be added around the base of the sign. We're asking for some more infill, just a different view. Here's the new sign at that corner as angled. It's a rendered view, so it's maybe not obviously not the scale, but it's very similar to the sign installation at 60th and National.
Thank you. John?
What are their colors? Are they red, yellow, or green?
Yeah, that's,
Because it looks like it's like.
so the picture here, they have installed canopy signage, the BP, but the part that needs to get cleaned up yet is, yeah, you're right, John. I mean, it's a good point, is that they still have some of the shell colors. I mean,
Right.
and we'll be working with Bauer to, and the property owner to, it's going to be BP. It'll be,
Okay.
yeah, be neutralized, so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I'll approve staff recommendations.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10 carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Move on to
Yep.
item
Oh, thanks, Mayor.
11.
Troy Meyer of Carnetti's is here. Carnetti's on Greenfield Avenue, 9427 Greenfield Ave. And this is the existing subject area, east side of the building, overlooking the parking lot. Greenfield Avenue is here. This gentleman, I think he's just waiting for, there's a bus stop right here, so he's
I was
waiting.
wondering who that guy was.
Or he's probably looking at the, hours of,
When is the next level
Yeah.
study?
So, but this is the location. Troy is very interested in commissioning an artist to come and come from Denver, I think. He's where he's based. To come from Denver to paint a mural on the east side of the building. And as part of that, I think he's also going to be applying for a grant through our Artscape program for consideration towards some, funding towards completing this project. The artist is Michael Ortiz. He's got a pretty impressive website. Take a look at it. But Ray Charles and Dr. John, right? Yeah. So legendary musicians with the artistic theme. They do have, street reference to Greenfield Avenue, Bourbon Street sort of fits the theme of the restaurant. But it is, I guess, we're currently considering this, signage in some respects, even though it is very artistic in its expression and notable. So we're advancing it. We suggest to the Plan Commission that this is should be considered as a creative sign and approved. It's about roughly about 20 by 70 feet long by, I think, 15 feet tall or so. And the details we're looking for are just maybe a little bit more from the artist to indicate, the method of paints being used and the method for, longevity, durability, maintenance over
Graffiti-resistant
time, graffiti
coating.
resistance, those types of things. So I would imagine this artist is probably no stranger to all those types of questions. So, but yeah.
Move approval.
Yeah.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Item carries.
Thanks, Troy.
Thanks, Troy. Survived yesterday? All right. Take care. Item 12 will be our April meeting date.
April meeting date's been with the elections. The Plan Commission would normally fall, the Plan Commission would normally fall on April 22nd, but given the upcoming election and council meeting, the council meeting's actually been pushed back. The business meeting's been pushed to April 22nd, so we're recommending that our Plan Commission date be set at April 23rd, the Thursday. So we'd have a Thursday, April 23rd Planning Commission meeting, same time, 6 o'clock. If that works, or if you want to maybe take a look at your calendars when you get a chance, and if you can make it, great, but let us know either way. Yeah.
Time, I think.
Great. Then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh.
Motion second, all in favor? Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.